All right, soon the CEO of a major U.S. fuel pipeline will face lawmakers on Capitol Hill 1 month after his company was hit by a massive ransomware attack. The hack on the Colonial Pipeline sparked fuel shortage fears and a spike in the gas prices in parts of the Southeast. The company's executive, Blount, paid cybercriminals more than $4 million to regain control of the systems hackers had breached. Yesterday, the Justice Department announced it had recovered a portion of that ransom payment, amounting to about $2.3 million. For more on what we can expect, let's bring in Gordon Bitko. He is the Senior Vice President of Policy at the Information Technology Industry Council, a trade group representing some of the biggest tech companies. He's also a former FBI Chief Information Officer. Thanks so much for being with us, sir. What are you looking out for today's hearing?
Good morning, and thanks for having me on. I think there's three main things in today's hearing. First is the Senate's obviously going to be interested in understanding how Colonial dealt with the hack. What happened? How did they get compromised? How did they decide to pay the ransomware payment? And what happened in the process leading up to that? Second, I think it's an opportunity for Congress to really highlight that they are taking seriously ransomware and cybersecurity as a true matter of national security. It's becoming increasingly apparent that that's the case, and it's an opportunity for Congress. And so hopefully this isn't the only hearing, but the first of many. And then I think the third thing is it's really important for public and private to work together, for industry and government to figure out how to collaborate together. So I think the senators are going to want to understand what more can government and industry be doing to work together to prevent attacks like this from happening, and when they do happen, to know how to respond to them effectively and in a speedy manner.
I'm sorry for jumping in on you. The FBI has historically discouraged ransomware payments, but businesses want to get back to business, and so often they give in. Not just businesses, government organizations as well. What are the concerns when it comes to paying these people off?
Yeah, so the FBI traditionally has taken the position, much like in general kidnappings and other incidents, that paying ransom creates the wrong incentive. It encourages people to repeat those behaviors, and honestly, they look at it as it's even funding them to do more of this work. So I think that that's a valid concern, but at the same time, businesses have to run their business. They need to be thinking about cybersecurity and be prepared. Rather than in the heat of the moment when they've been victimized by a cyber criminal, being forced to make a payment, ideally they would be thinking about this ahead of time, working about it with the government, with the FBI and others to decide what the best course of action is, instead of, at the moment, you have no other choice, and so you pay a ransom to keep your business going.
As we mentioned, the Justice Department was able to recover about $2.3 million of the ransom paid to hackers in the Colonial Pipeline attack last month. How were they able to accomplish this, do you think?
Yeah, so I think it's a good indication that the government is starting to take ransomware seriously at the level of a national security threat, much in the way that they've talked about recently, and as they've done with nation-state cyber intrusions for a long time. The particulars in this case, they haven't disclosed all the details, but they were, I believe, successful in identifying the particular Bitcoin wallet that was used. So where was the cryptocurrency being stored, and then being able to get access to that so that they were able to return that back to Colonial.
In an interview with Meet the Press, the Biden administration's energy secretary said she would support banning companies from paying hackers. Do you think that would be effective?
I think that, Anne-Marie, is a really hard question to answer. What I would encourage companies to be doing is practicing good cybersecurity in advance. Think about cyber threats the same as you do all of your operational risks, and have a plan in place. Know what you're going to do so that you don't have to, again, in the heat of the moment, decide, are you going to pay ransomware? Are you going to pay that ransom payment or not? The last-minute decision to say yes or no is then a very tough one operationally. But if all the government is saying is you can't make these payments without offering cooperation and collaboration and working with industry to help prevent these threats, to help respond, to help companies, then I'm not sure that that's going to be a successful strategy. So what the government really needs to do is figure out how to better collaborate with industry and prevent these sort of things from happening in the first place, and then help companies get back on their feet as quickly as they can. Unfortunately, when they do happen.
It sounds like the low-tech advice that your mother gave you, which is an ounce of prevention, is what applies here. Gordon Bitko, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.